Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Modern Investing on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star, and today's guests are Dr. Milan Sambrak. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me, Sasha. Delighted to be here. Do I have an interesting story to tell our viewers? Carry on.
Okay, let me introduce Jim, and then you'll go with your story. I would like to introduce Jim Eat from Eat Foundation. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Thank you, Sasha. And all I can share is uninteresting stories.
Okay, Milan, it's your turn. Go ahead with your story.
I recently got a check for $5,000. Unexpected check for $5,000. Yeah. Well, that was my share of the class action suit that we initiated against Novavax, where I actually lost $200,000.
Mm-hmm.
So now, why did I get into Novavax? Well, I used to subscribe to an advisory service that was really well respected, and I really thought that they did well by me over a very long period of time.
Morningstar?
Don't think so. No, I've forgotten the name, but I used to pay $300 a year for their advice, and it really was excellent. So they advised Novavax. So I bought Novavax and lost $200,000. And the really interesting thing about that is that while investors lost the way I did, the CEO got compensated $54 million in that year. Similarly, the other executives got compensation in the millions while investors lost. Now, like your mothers, my mother told me, don't expect life to be fair. So now, why is that even allowed? And we had a similar situation in Canada with Nortel. Nortel declared bankruptcy in, around 909, declared bankruptcy. The executives got compensated in the tens of millions of dollars. Why is that allowed?
How you can disallow it? I mean, if
people provide regulations for our market behavior should be able to do it.
How? I mean, at what point you decide that people are getting millions and millions of dollars month after month, and all of a sudden they say, "Oh yeah, it's no longer." I mean, who are they to even to evaluate the situation? As long as shareholders are pleased with the payments to executives, whether it's tens of millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars, who are the regulators to say anything?
Sasha, I don't have the answer to that. All I know is that it isn't right. Everybody would have to agree with the fact that it isn't right that these people, executives, get paid in the tens of millions of dollars while running a company where investors lose money. That isn't right. Now, do we have a system whereby we can correct what is wrong? I don't know. I wouldn't know how to correct that, but certainly there it is, and it's probably happened with other companies as well. I'm aware of it.
Well, listen, Milan, you are aware there's an ongoing show on Pod TV. Actually, from what I understand, it's quite popular, although I've never seen one. It's something to do with the time sharing. And there are lineups of people who are accusing that they were sold some worthless timeshares, that they cannot use them or sell them or do anything with them. And so the first line of defense, never buy timeshares. So therefore, you will never have all these grievances. You will not have lawsuits and other stories. Same thing like Nortel. Who asked you to buy Nortel shares? It's you yourself.
All right. That's
You being greedy, so you bought Nortel at $120 a share, thinking that in the next 5 days it will be 125, and you will sell to another sucker who will pay $125 a share. But don't blame anybody. Take your losses and learn something.
Well, a couple of things. Now, there's a man that you greatly admire in your book, Market Wizard, Secota. His name is Ed Secota. And he has 3 rules to investing. Number 1 is don't lose money. Number 2 is don't lose money. And number 3 is don't lose money.
It's not the same what is the preservation of capital. Because, in fact, losing money is a normal thing. In fact,
Absolutely. Yeah.
when my friends are asking me about my investing experience and so on, I always tell them, please don't be afraid to lose money. Be afraid to lose a lot of money. But let's see, if you bought stocks at $60 a share and went down to 58, and you sell. In fact, I'm ready to suggest anybody who really would like to master their skills to intentionally lose money. Buy stock at 60, it went down to 59 and a half, sell, take your loss. It doesn't matter that next day it will go to 70 and 85. It doesn't matter. Learn how to take your losses and make 10 losses one after another. So then you'll be immune to take small losses. And
There's a much better way, Sasha, much better way. And the much better way is don't invest in individual stocks.
It's a different story. It's a different story altogether. If you will not invest in individual stocks, you will get stuck with 6-8% annual returns, and you will never have 100% or more in annual returns. So therefore, in fact, you are so to speak, depriving people of very reasonable expectations to make way much more money. If you take S&P 500, there are a handful of stock drives S&P. If you will inject if you will subtract from S&P 500 4 or 5 leading stocks, S&P is down. It's down for a year, it's down for 2 years, it's nothing. There is a bunch of 500 garbage.
You know what?
Handful stocks.
If you don't buy individual stocks, which is what I recommend, and my first experience was with Novavax, based on the recommendation of a company that gives investment advice that I used to subscribe to for $300 a year. And they served me really well. I really liked what they did and the recommendations they made. Then when they recommended Novavax, I jumped in and lost $200,000. I decided not to buy individual stocks anymore. Then along came David Svensson, who headed the Yale University Endowment Fund, the most successful university endowment fund on the planet in history. And he said, have a 50-50 asset allocation or something like that. 60-40 also works, as does 55-45. Anything like that works where you have a large percentage in cash. Wall Street doesn't like that because they don't make anything on the cash portion. So they do everything possible to discourage such an activity. But what happens in such a case, you don't pick individual stocks, according to David Svensson. I mean, the chances of beating a 50-50 asset allocation between SPY, which represents the U.S. economy as a whole, and 50% in cash, the chances of beating that by picking individual stocks are close to zero. Now, some people have done it. You know, James Simons has done it, and Peter Lynch has done it, and Warren Buffett has done it. And I think the way you talk, you two have done it. That doesn't apply to most investors. So, but in selling puts and calls on SPY has produced an average annual return of 18% for
lost 16, so somewhere two more percent came up.
But
Late.
they did that for nearly 200 years now. For 200 years, who needs more? Because the risk of doing that is very minimal.
Next week is going to be 20%.
Well, I want to circle back to, I think there's a lot of resentment to CEO pay, executive pay. There's also in the United States, you guys are Canadians, but in the United States, Trump's taxes favor the wealthy. They get, people that don't need the money are getting the money from the tax bill that passed. And that's a travesty of justice as well. But, the CEO pay, the executive pay, really started back when we rewarded companies for shipping manufacturing jobs overseas. And it reduced their costs. Their expenses went down, so their profitability increased. and some of that went to the majority of that went to the executives of those companies, and we rewarded them for that. And people didn't start complaining until they realized, hey, we can't make anything in this country anymore. When COVID hit, the global pandemic, we realized that we were needing equipment that we no longer produced. And so now there's a cry to bring manufacturing jobs back into the United States. And this is we've talked about this before. You know, the manufacturing jobs are soul crushing in many ways, and they're not good jobs. And the only people who would really benefit from that are immigrants, and there's a crackdown on immigration. So this country has not figured it out yet. And the other thing that's going on with Trump's tariffs, he's threatening all these companies with tariffs, and they're either going to absorb the costs, injuring their profitability, or pass it on to the consumer, which is inherently inflationary. So what some of the smarter companies have done, NVIDIA is one, Apple is another, is cut deals with the president. So the president says, I want this from you guys. And they say, okay, just eliminate these tariffs on these products that we're importing from other countries. And the president has agreed. Now, you might think this is a good thing, but, you know, changing the presidency every 8 years at the minimum, you know, we're going to have different presidents negotiating with different companies to cut deals. You know, this is not the way to run a country, in my opinion. And the other product, the effect of the tariffs, not only is it inflationary by itself, you know, the costs that they're charging, say the 15% tariff agreement between the Japanese and the United States, so they each charge each other 15%. Well, where does that go? That 15% is a tax on the companies and the consumers in order to go to the federal government to pay down its enormous deficit on both sides of the coin, Japan and the United States. So yeah, the companies, the countries themselves would benefit from these tariffs, no question about it. But people have to realize these tariffs are nothing but taxes. Yeah. And so if you understand that Trump is placing enormous taxes on you, on U.S. companies and on U.S. consumers, then the conversation tends to change. But I don't think most people think of tariffs as taxes. Trump thinks they're the greatest thing in the world because it just makes more money for the government. And is that what the American people, the average American citizen wants? More money for the government?
American citizens don't understand where this 15% or whatever is coming from. They think that it's a foreign governments or foreign companies are being punished, and this 15% they have to pay addition to US. But it's not the case. Actually, Canada, our Prime Minister Carney, was very straightforward when Trump says that he's now going to impose, what's the latest, 35% on Canadian produced goods. He said 35, make it 55 or 75. It's not we who are going to pay this. It's your people, your taxpayers, your companies. Go ahead. I don't care. Do you think I want to negotiate 35 down to 25? No, please go ahead and impose whatever you feel is fair, because you are taxing your constituents. Yeah. Your taxpayers, your companies. Go ahead, Donald, please yourself.
Yeah, and the other thing is that Trump opposes immigration, but North America was built on immigration. We came to Canada in 1952. My father was a medical doctor and a dentist. My mother was a lawyer, and they scrubbed toilets in a local hospital initially, knowing that there was a future for them. Ultimately, my father did qualify as a dentist in Canada, and my mother did practice law. But you start at the bottom, and the opportunities are there. And people who immigrate to Canada, to North America, leave an environment where their friends are, where they speak the language, they read the same newspapers, they're familiar with the foods and the habits, for something totally strange, so that either they and or their children can prosper. And probably all of us here are an example of that. as our most successful people in North America. So
Well, that's absolutely the case. And not only some of them are leaving very unsafe environments as well.
Yeah.
And America used to say the Statue of Liberty says, give us, you're tired, you're poor, you're huddled masses. And that's what this country used to stand for.
Yeah.
And it's a shame to see how one man can do so much damage to what the United States used to stand for. But the economic consequences are, and just to piggyback on what Milan was saying, we had a housekeeper when we first moved into Menlo Park, California, in the heart of Silicon Valley, and she was from Mexico, and she was a psychiatrist in Mexico. We loved her, and she's got a better job now, and all the more power to her. My Uber driver was from Afghanistan. He was a soldier. All he knew was war. And now he's here. But how do you get started in Silicon Valley? Housing prices are insane. Rent prices are insane. So all the more power to anyone who can come here to this country and make it. And they have to do it by hard work. There's no shortcuts. Unless they turn to crime, which is what Donald Trump is trying to make everyone think. That's all that immigrants do. No, immigrants do jobs that we wouldn't want to do and start businesses that we wouldn't start. And that's been the history of immigration. And so we have things backwards, and we're trying to restore America to a time and place that never really existed. It only existed in television shows, not in real life. No, it's we don't want to go backwards. We only want to go forwards. But I still think the AI companies and the ones that are invested in artificial intelligence and the industry that makes that happen, that empowers that, they're largely immune to these tariffs. Now they're cutting deals with Trump, as NVIDIA has done, so that they can sell chips to China, for example. And these types of things, why would you not want a company like NVIDIA to prosper? And you're not going to make China, if you don't give these chips to China, China will develop them on their own. And the Chinese have not shown any inability to, what they've done with battery storage is incredible. So, you want to encourage partnership. And even Nixon was the one who first engaged China, and it was a policy of engagement, cooperation, trade, the global trade market. And so, trying to get this back to my country alone and cut deals that punish other countries and all that kind of stuff, it's all nonsensical. And one day we're going to realize that, wake up, and get back to what this country used to stand for.
What you're saying, James, is absolutely correct. Just let me make one small correction. Nixon was not the first Westerner to get in contact with China. It was Canada's Pierre Elliott Trudeau.
That may very well be, Milan, but he was the one that did it in the United States. Yeah.
John Paul Getty said the way to make money is to rise early, work hard, strike oil.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Can investors strike oil in the stock market? Yes. Do most investors in the stock market lose? Yes.
And the other thing, go ahead, Sasha. Sorry,
not all investors in oil are actually getting the oil and getting rich of it. A lot of them are digging, and there is no oil in most cases. So it's all actually. Yesterday I had very interesting evening. We visited our friends. And we had discussions on many subjects, and one of them was about investing. And very well-to-do people and asked how they invest or so on. And he told me that we invest the way widows invest. We're buying S&P 500 and just hold it, and because we don't know anything better than that. Yeah. And what about you? And I told them how I investing or so on. And they were mesmerized. They were saying, "Oh my God! See, we're about in 10, 20 years or so, we'll die as everybody else, and we wouldn't even know what you are doing until today when you told us that.
Sasha, can you teach me how to do what you're doing?
Possibly, possibly.
Can you teach everybody on the planet to do what you're doing?
No, it's not
No,
my goal.
exactly.
It's not my goal. I'm not about to do that
No,
because
listen, of course, it's not your goal, but the goal of our viewers here is to do as well as possible. And following you would be a very difficult thing for most people to do.
so they have to watch some other shows. You don't have to watch this show because this show is very specialized. It calls modern investing. I'm trying to preach in spite of your interjections, and I'm trying still to explain what I'm doing. I'm not trying to everybody subscribe to what I'm doing, but at least to see the merits of it and just consider that, okay, that's another way of investing. Maybe someday I'll try it. So like, how do you go? Why you, okay, I always tell all my physicians in
Yes.
the account, right?
Yeah.
Somebody, at least for curiosity, may ask, how and why did you select this position and not the other? And I will be willing to answer that question, provided that somebody will ask me that question.
Yeah.
Nobody is asking me that question.
Well, the idea I think that we all agree on is to do what is comfortable for you. And Milan is outlining a strategy that is comfortable for many people, and I applaud that. And there are people that are subscribing to the way Sasha do it. It's not for everybody. You know, you have to be able to take a certain risk, be a certain amount of paying attention and tracking what's going on to a certain extent. But for those that have the interest and the time and the energy to do it the way Sasha is doing it, it's brilliant. And you know, I'm more of a pick out what's hot, and what sector is hot. Look at the best companies in that sector and invest in them. And this is, you know, I'm talking about the artificial intelligence industry, and NVIDIA is the standout, but there are also some other stocks that are doing extremely well. I've talked about Marvell, Taiwan Semiconductor in the past. All of these companies have done extremely well for me, but stay disciplined to what you know and what you're interested in, and the level of risk that you're willing to take. So there's something in this show for everyone, and find out what works for you. And the other thing that you were talking about, not striking oil, I recently went to Norway, and Norway's government was trying to find oil in the North Sea, and the first 3 times it was a significant investment to try to do this. The first 3 times failed, and they were just about ready to give up on the 4th attempt when they struck oil. And there's an old saying, I've forgotten now who said it, but it was the reason some people don't have success, it might have been in Thomas Edison or something like that, but is that they give up right before they are going to achieve success. And so perseverance is also a fundamental aspect of investing in the market.
Yeah, the other thing that's really important is to avoid being involved in countries that have a high corruption index. For example, there are people starving in this world today, and there's enough food for everybody to eat well, except corruption is preventing it. So some of the least corrupt countries in the world are Denmark and Norway and New Zealand. And so if every country were like that, there would be no starvation today. But there are real examples of starvation. The president of Kenya, first president, Jomo Kenyatta, entered politics. He did not own a pair of shoes. He left 20 years later a billionaire. Yeah. Is that an example of good money management, or is that an example of corruption?
I'll give you a better example. I read an article just day before yesterday from the latest issue of New Yorker magazine. And they've calculated quite precisely how much money Trump made personally in the first 7 months of his presidency. The amount is staggering, $3.4 billion. Okay. So when he was a year ago, he was fighting. He couldn't pay money for his charges from Eugene Carroll, and he was running around asking friends to lend him some money to pay. It was probably around $100 million that he had to pay. Um, and all of a sudden, $3.4 billion. That's really something.
Yeah, he's cutting deals with these companies. He once diverted military planes so that they would land and stay at his hotel.
Yeah.
His son has profited enormously by his presidency. So, channeling all these monies into his family, into himself, is part of Trump's legacy. And
Well,
and
ours,
we're going to have to ask ourselves, is
but
this what we want? Yeah.
ours too. We want to help our children, don't we? All of us want to help our children and grandchildren. So that's what he's doing. Former New York
Oh
City.
no! Oh no! Don't give him a pass like that.
No,
No,
yeah,
no, I'm not accepting that.
uh,
That you're using the power of the presidency illegally and constitutionally, and that's not taking care of your kids.
illegal means nothing to Trump, does it? Yeah. But Bloomberg, former mayor of New York City, Bloomberg said that if Trump had taken his inheritance and just did what we recommend, buy the S&P 500 and hold it, he would have done better. Now, he would not have had as much fun, but he would have done better.
He could have also some fun if he would buy stocks like Nvidia, which at that time were penny stock. And I even remember I bought once Nvidia in 2012. I bought it at $12, and I thought that, oh my God, it's overpriced. But anyway, I bought it and I sold some covered calls. It was taken away from me, and after that, I came back to Nvidia, but much later and at much different price, of course. So there is a wisdom of but the widow strategy, as you explained it to me, Leonard, it's quite possible, and I hope there are enough widows who are listening to this program so they can learn from you something. Widows and orphans and all those people, let them have fun. I have no problem.
Well, fear and greed drives human behavior. We all try to make money with as little effort as possible. That's what investing is. There's a lady in here today, a friend of my wife's. They went out to lunch. She was telling me about her son, who is in his middle 20s, and he is investing in the money market. He is going to make money in the money market by trading in the money market. Good luck to him, right? Good thing that he lives at home where the cooking is good and the rent is reasonable.
Remember when day trading was a fad? It was a real big deal.
25 years ago or so, yes.
Yeah.
It was the time of a day trading. It was fabulous. And to tell the truth, in some cases, day trading is possible today. For me, for example, but I don't trade stocks like as a day trading, but options.
Yes.
Sometimes I can sell covered calls, and by the end of the day, they are becoming significantly lower in price. I may buy them back, and I always question whether should I do it or not. And but I
Well,
The
but
Milan strategy is basically day trading. You exercise, you sell in the morning and with an expiration date the same day.
yeah, right, yeah.
Yes, that's true. That's true. But even if the expiration day even a few days away, but the price of that course is now much lower or even significantly lower, but I may buy them back because there are good chances that in the morning stock will open higher and I will sell again as covered calls at the higher price and already made a little bit of money on
The premiums, yes.
Yeah.
One of the most effective ways of short-term predictions, short-term, effective most of the time, is to take a look at what the S&P 500 futures are doing. If the futures are positive, don't sell covered calls. Hold the security itself. It'll go up faster than selling covered calls. If the S&P 500 futures are negative, that's a good time to be selling covered calls. So
That's a good tip.
looking at the S&P 500 futures, that's one of the first things I do every day to determine just what I'm going to do in the market that day. And it takes no time at all.
Yeah, but
Well,
the
the S&P,
results during the day very significant. I don't know how you deal with that. But
well, all I can say is in the 90s, I really started to pay attention to investing. And the NASDAQ, I thought if it hit 5,000, you know, I would make all my goals. I'd be comfortable. And NASDAQ is now at 21,700.
yeah,
You know, and the S&P, it's almost 6,500. And, you know, these are staggering numbers. And we keep saying what goes up must come down. And, you know, in the short term, you know, there will be volatility. It'll go up and down, but it's been trending up for a long time. And I don't see that changing. And specifically, I don't see that changing in AI related companies. We're just on the cusp of an AI revolution, and it's going to continue into the foreseeable future. And these companies that are excelling in this field are giving a return that's staggering. And you know, with NVIDIA, I sold NVIDIA when it hit my target price. I bought back in when it split, and it's you know it's at 180 now, or close, yeah, 180. And so its 3-month return has been 40%. So, you know, these are opportunities that I don't want people to overlook. Marvell in the same point is at 21%, and that's for 3 months. So, you know, this is these are pretty solid, safe ways to make substantially more money. And one that I didn't pull the trigger on, I'm starting to pay attention to, was LSCC. It's a Lattice Semiconductor Corporation, and it's starting to pop. And I'm just kicking myself because I was paying attention to it, and then just in the recent month, and just in August, really, it's gone up from 50 to 66. And I didn't pull the trigger, but I wanted to.
Well, you know, with hindsight, all of us can see
Yes.
ways.
Yes, but I was tracking this, and I was like thinking, and I was, you know, because I've already invested in AMD, NVIDIA, Marvell. You know, how much more am I going to put into this? And is there really another company that I really need? And I talked myself out of it, and I'm regretting it because there are opportunities, and you won't always be right, of course, but you know, based on your experience, you stick with what you know, be disciplined and persevere, and you will get rewarded for your efforts. And it's been my experience over 30 years of investing.
my experience is that what I'm doing by selling puts, let's see, on two companies, I sold several puts on CRM and United Health. It is much less riskier strategies than buying any stock, even NVIDIA. Because when you're buying, or even S&P 500, you're buying today S&P 500. Let's see, it will fall just a fraction of a percent. Now you see a red on your screen. So now you think, oh, I have a friend of mine actually, he's buying stock. If it goes higher, even quarter of a point, he sells.
Sasha, no, Sasha. If the S&P 500 SPY drops, we buy more.
Yeah, and it
always buying bargains, always taking profit.
Then you're selling your furniture and buy even more. Yeah, I know all that. I've heard all that. And then you drive Uber, and I've heard all that.
United Health is coming back. United Health, it's actually on the upswing now.
I know. And CRM will start going higher next week because they have earnings on September 3rd. But I have two earnings, one beginning of September, one beginning of December. So I have two events before there will be expiration of my puts. So I feel the only thing I regret, I should have sold even more puts than I did. But okay, still, you know, you cannot get greedy. You cannot make all the money. You make some money,
right,
but not all the money, unfortunately. Well, in any case, I would like to thank you very much for today's program, and we'll see you next Wednesday, same place, same time. and
Thank
have
you, Sasha.
great success in trading.
Yes, green on your screen.
Good.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.